Sarah wiped down the counter at Joe's Diner for the third time that evening. Her hands trembled as she glanced toward the window booth where the man in the grey jacket sat. He'd been there for 2 hours, nursing the same cold coffee, his eyes following her every movement. When the biker walked in, leather vest worn from years of road travel, Sarah saw her chance. He took a seat at the counter, nodding politely as she poured his coffee. "What's good here?" he asked. Sarah leaned in close, her voice barely a whisper. "That man's been stalking me." The biker's eyes didn't move toward the window. He kept his gaze steady on Sarah. "How long?" 3 weeks. Different places, always watching. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to The Ride for Justice. The biker took a slow sip of his coffee. "Has he approached you?" "Not yet, but yesterday he was outside my apartment, this morning, at the grocery store, now here." The man in the grey jacket checked his watch. Sarah noticed him shift in his seat, preparing to leave. "He's about to go," Sarah whispered urgently. The biker set down his cup. "What time does your shift end?" 20 minutes. "I'll be in the parking lot. Dark blue Harley. You walk straight to it when you clock out. Don't look around, don't hesitate." Sarah nodded, her hands steadying slightly. The biker finished his coffee in silence while the man in grey paid his bill and left. Through the window, Sarah watched him get into a sedan across the street. He didn't drive away. The biker stood, left cash on the counter with a generous tip, and walked out. Sarah watched him mount his motorcycle, but he didn't start it. He sat there, helmet on, appearing to check his phone. The minutes crawled. Sarah served 2 more customers, her mind racing through scenarios. What if this made things worse? What if the stalker became violent? But doing nothing hadn't worked. The police had told her they couldn't act without a direct threat. When her shift ended, Sarah grabbed her purse and walked toward the door. The sedan was still there. Sarah pushed through the diner's door, the cool evening air hitting her face. She forced herself to walk normally toward the Harley, just as the biker had instructed. The engine rumbled to life as she approached. "Get on," he said, handing her a helmet. Sarah glanced back. The sedan's headlights flickered on. "Don't look, just get on." She climbed onto the motorcycle, her arms wrapping around the biker's waist. They pulled out of the parking lot at a normal speed, nothing rushed or suspicious. In the side mirror, Sarah watched the sedan turn. "He's behind us," she said over the engine noise. "Good." They rode through downtown, the sedan maintaining a steady distance. The biker made seemingly random turns, left then right, circling blocks. Sarah realized he was testing something, confirming the tale. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere public, somewhere with witnesses." They pulled into the lot of a busy shopping center. The biker parked near the entrance, killed the engine. The sedan drove past slowly, then circled back, parking 4 rows away. The biker removed his helmet. His face was weathered, mid-40s with eyes that had seen trouble before. "We're going to walk inside. Stay close to me. Act like we're together." Inside the store, they moved through aisles slowly. Sarah spotted the stalker near the electronics section, pretending to examine televisions. The biker grabbed a shopping basket, tossed in random items. "Does he know where you live?" he asked quietly. "Yes, I've seen him there." "Family nearby?" "My sister, but she's 2 states away." The biker stopped at the end of an aisle, pulled out his phone, made a call. "Tommy?" "Yeah, it's Marcus. Need a favor. Joe's Diner, tomorrow night, around 7. Bring the crew." He paused. "Trust me on this one." Sarah watched the stalker drift closer, maintaining his pretense of shopping. "What are you planning?" she asked. Marcus put his phone away. "That depends on what he does next. But you're not dealing with this alone anymore." They checked out, buying nothing useful, just maintaining the appearance of a normal shopping trip. Outside, the sedan was still there. Marcus started the Harley. "Tomorrow, you work your shift like normal. But things are going to change." The next evening, Sarah arrived at Joe's Diner, an hour before her shift. Marcus was already there, sitting at the counter with 3 other bikers. They looked like they'd ridden hard, road dust on their vests, faces serious. "Sarah, this is Tommy, Jake, and Bear," Marcus said. Tommy nodded, a thin man with sharp eyes. Jake was younger, built solid. Bear lived up to his name. Massive and intimidating. "Marcus filled us in," Tommy said. "We've dealt with situations like this before." Sarah tied her apron. "What exactly are you planning?" "We're going to have a conversation with him," Marcus replied. "The kind that makes him understand this ends tonight." At 6:30, the man in grey walked in. He took his usual booth by the window. His eyes found Sarah immediately, but then locked onto the 4 bikers at the counter. For the first time, Sarah saw uncertainty cross his face. The bikers didn't acknowledge him. They ordered food, talked quietly among themselves, laughed at private jokes, but their presence changed the atmosphere completely. Sarah took her time approaching the stalker's booth. "Coffee?" "Just water," he said, his voice tighter than usual. As she poured, Marcus stood and walked toward the restroom, passing directly by the booth. He didn't look at the man, but the message was clear: "We see you." The stalker's phone buzzed. He checked it, typed something quickly. Sarah noticed his knee bouncing under the table, nervous energy. At 7:15, he stood abruptly and headed for the door. Marcus caught Sarah's eye and gave a slight nod. All 4 bikers stood in unison and followed. Sarah watched through the window as they intercepted him in the parking lot. The stalker backed against his sedan as the bikers formed a semicircle around him. No physical contact, but the body language was unmistakable. Marcus did most of the talking. The stalker shook his head, tried to move past them. Bear shifted position, blocking him. The conversation continued, voices rising slightly but not yelling. Then something unexpected happened. The stalker pulled out his phone and made a call. Within 3 minutes, a police cruiser pulled into the lot. The officer stepped out of the cruiser, hand resting casually on his belt. Sarah's stomach dropped. This wasn't part of any plan she'd imagined. "What's going on here?" the officer asked, looking at the bikers. The stalker spoke first. "These men are harassing me. I was just having coffee, and they followed me out here, threatened me." Marcus remained calm. "Officer, we haven't touched him. We came out here to talk." "Talk about what?" "About why he's been following that waitress for 3 weeks. Marcus pointed toward the diner where Sarah stood watching from the window. The stalker's face reddened. "That's ridiculous. I don't even know her." "Then why were you parked outside her apartment building Tuesday morning?" Tommy asked. "Why were you at Miller's grocery Wednesday when she was shopping?" The officer looked between them. "Ma'am," he called to Sarah, who had come outside. "Do you know this man?" Sarah walked over, her hands shaking.
No.
"But he's been everywhere I go. For weeks. I live in this neighborhood," the stalker protested. "It's a free country. I can eat where I want." The officer turned to Marcus. "Did you threaten him?" "No, sir. We told him that his behavior was making this woman feel unsafe and that it needed to stop. That's all." The stalker seized the opportunity. "They're lying. They surrounded me, told me I'd regret it if I came back here. That's intimidation. I want to file charges." Bear spoke for the first time, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Officer, check your database. This man's name is David Reeves. He has 2 prior restraining orders from women in other counties." The stalker's face went pale.
That's sealed information. How do you...
"Public record, if you know where to look," Bear said. The officer's demeanor shifted. He looked at Reeves with new scrutiny. "Is that true?" "That was years ago. Different circumstances. I served my time." "What time?" Sarah asked, her voice stronger now. "What did you do?" The officer held up his hand. "Mr. Reeves, I'm going to need to see some identification. The rest of you, stay here." As the officer walked Reeves back to the cruiser, Marcus turned to Sarah. "This might not go the way we hoped. He called the cops smart, made us look like the aggressors. But what Bear said about his record might not matter. We have no proof he's actually stalking you. No photos, no threats, just coincidences." The officer returned 15 minutes later. "Mr. Reeves has agreed to leave the property. I've advised him that if there are any further complaints, we'll investigate fully. As for you all," he looked at the bikers, "I understand you were trying to help, but vigilante justice isn't the answer. Let the system work." Marcus started to respond, but Tommy put a hand on his shoulder. After everyone dispersed, Sarah felt defeated. He's just going to keep doing it. More carefully now, but he won't stop. Marcus checked his watch. Maybe, or maybe we just needed him to make a mistake. "What mistake?" Sarah asked, as the police cruiser drove away. Marcus pulled out his phone, showing her a video. It was footage from the parking lot, confrontation, but from an angle she hadn't noticed. Jake was recording the whole thing. "Notice what Reeves said." Sarah watched the video. When accused of being at her apartment, Reeves didn't deny it. He'd said he lived in the neighborhood. "So, you never told us your address," Marcus said. "We never mentioned which apartment building. But he knew exactly which neighborhood you meant." Sarah's eyes widened. He admitted it without realizing. "That's not all. Bear pulled out a small notebook. While you were inside working, I walked around the lot. His car has parking permits from 3 different areas: downtown near the diner, west side near Miller's Grocery, and Riverside. Riverside is where I live, Sarah whispered. Tommy had been quiet, studying his own phone. Found him on social media. David Reeves works remote as a software consultant, but look at his photo check-ins over the past month. He showed Sarah the screen. Coffee shops, restaurants, stores, all places she frequented. Why is he doing this? Sarah asked, though part of her didn't want to know. Marcus's expression was grim. Men like him, it usually starts with something small. Maybe you smiled at him once, were polite when he held a door. In his mind, that becomes something more. Then he needs to be near you, needs to know what you're doing. It escalates, Bear added. Always escalates. Sarah felt cold, despite the warm evening. The police said to let the system work, but what does that mean? Wait until he does something worse. No, Marcus said firmly. It means we get smarter. Tonight was just the opening move. Over the next week, Sarah's life changed in ways she couldn't have anticipated. The bikers took shifts, different members of Marcus's crew appearing throughout her day. Not obviously following her, but present. At the gym, Jake was on the treadmill. At the library, a woman biker named Rita browsed nearby shelves. Reeves disappeared at first. 2 days, then 3. Sarah started to hope it was over. On the 4th day he was back. Not at the diner, but across the street from her apartment. She spotted him from her window sitting in his car at dawn. Sarah called Marcus immediately. He's here. Don't go outside, I'm 10 minutes away. But Sarah had had enough of being afraid. She grabbed her phone, opened the camera, and started recording as she walked outside. Reeves saw her and started his engine. Why are you here? Sarah called out, still recording. Why are you following me? Reeves rolled down his window. I'm not following you. I'm just what? Just happening to be outside my home at 6 in the morning. Other residents were emerging now, people heading to work, witnesses. You're crazy, Reeves said, but his voice lacked conviction. Then leave, drive away right now, and don't come back. For a moment, Sarah thought he might. His hand was on the gear shift, but then his expression changed, hardened. You're the one who's going to regret this. You and your biker friends. He drove off as Marcus pulled up on his Harley. Marcus watched the sedan disappear around the corner. You got that recorded? Sarah nodded, hands shaking with adrenaline. Every word. Including the threat. Good. Now we use it. Inside Sarah's apartment, Marcus made another call. This time to someone Sarah hadn't met. Detective Chen? It's Marcus Wade. Remember that favor you said you owed me? Time to collect. 20 minutes later, a plainclothes detective arrived. She was in her 40s, professional demeanor, but warm eyes. Sarah, this is Detective Chen. She specializes in stalking cases. Chen sat down, pulled out a notepad. Tell me everything, from the beginning. Sarah walked her through 3 weeks of fear. The detective listened without interrupting, taking detailed notes. The video you recorded this morning is crucial, Chen said. That's a direct threat. Combined with the pattern of behavior, we have grounds for a protective order at minimum. At minimum? Sarah asked. I need to review the evidence your friends have gathered. If Mr. Reeves has been documenting you online, taking photos, if there's any indication of escalating behavior, we might have enough for charges. Marcus handed over everything: Bear's notes, Tommy's social media findings, Jake's videos from the diner confrontation. Chen reviewed it all carefully. This is good work, thorough, but I need to know something. She looked at Marcus. How did you know he had prior restraining orders? Bear shifted uncomfortably. I have contacts who can access certain databases. That's illegal access to sealed records. It's also true, Marcus said. Does it matter if it helps protect Sarah? Chen was quiet for a moment. I didn't hear that confession. What I'm going to do is run Mr. Reeves through official channels. See what comes up. Meanwhile, Sarah, I want you to file a formal complaint. We'll request security footage from the diner, your apartment building, anywhere he might have appeared. Over the next 2 days, Chen worked the case hard. Security footage confirmed Reeves had been present at Sarah's building multiple times. Despite living across town, his social media showed an obsessive pattern. He'd been boasting vague references to destiny and fate, bringing people together. The protective order was granted on Friday. An officer served Reeves at his apartment. He was ordered to stay 500 feet away from Sarah, her workplace, and her home. It's over, Sarah told Marcus when she heard the news. But Marcus's expression remained cautious. Paper orders don't stop determined people. Stay vigilant. He was right to worry. That Sunday night, Sarah's apartment alarm went off at 2 in the morning. She woke to the shrieking sound, heart hammering. Someone had tried to open her back door. By the time police arrived, the intruder was gone. But they found evidence, pry marks on the doorframe, fresh footprints in the flower bed below her window. He's violating the protective order, the responding officer said. We'll add attempted breaking and entering. Sarah called Marcus, her voice breaking. He's not going to stop, even with the order, even with the charges. He's escalating just like you said. Then we end it, tomorrow, Marcus said. Permanently and legally. Detective Chen's plan was risky, but straightforward. Sarah would go about her normal routine, but this time with unmarked police surveillance and the biker crew as visible deterrents. If Reeves showed up despite the 30th order, despite the pending charges, they'd have him. He can't help himself, Chen explained Monday morning. Men like Reeves, when they feel control slipping away, they take bigger risks. He'll make a mistake. Sarah went to work at the diner. Marcus and Tommy sat at the counter. 2 unmarked cars were positioned in the lot. Jake was across the street with a clear camera angle. Reeves appeared at noon. He parked 2 blocks away, walked past the diner slowly, looking through the windows. Sarah saw him and forced herself to keep working. He circled the block twice. On the 3rd pass, he came inside. The moment he entered, he was in violation. Within 500 feet of Sarah despite the court order. But Chen had told them to wait, to let him commit to the act fully. Reeves took a booth, not his usual one by the window but one with a direct view of Sarah. He didn't order, just sat there staring. Marcus stood up. You need to leave. Now. I have a right to eat wherever I want, Reeves said, but his voice wavered. You have a protective order keeping you away from this woman. You're in violation. Prove it. Reeves pulled out his phone, started taking pictures of Sarah. That was the breaking point. Detective Chen entered from the back, 2 uniformed officers with her. David Reeves, you're under arrest for violating a protective order and stalking. Chen's voice carried authority. Stand up slowly, hands where I can see them. Reeves looked around frantically. The other customers were watching. The bikers stood ready. There was no escape route. This is harassment, he tried. They're the ones. We have you on camera, approaching within 500 feet of the protected party. We have your attempt to photograph her without consent. We have evidence of attempted breaking and entering at her residence. Stand up. For a moment, Sarah thought he might do something desperate. His hand moved toward his jacket pocket, but there was suddenly there, massive and unmovable, blocking any path forward. Reeves stood, hands shaking as the officers cuffed him. As they led him out, he looked at Sarah one last time. I just wanted to know you. Is that so wrong? The words chilled her more than anything else had. He genuinely didn't understand. After Reeves was taken away, Chen sat with Sarah. He'll face multiple charges. With his prior record, he's looking at real prison time. And when he gets out, the protective order will be permanent. He won't be able to come near you ever again. Sarah nodded, but the trauma didn't disappear with the arrest. What if there's someone else like him? What if this happens again? Marcus had been quiet, but now he spoke. Then you do what you did this time. You ask for help. You don't face it alone. Over the following weeks, Sarah learned that Marcus's crew had helped other women in similar situations. It wasn't official, wasn't advertised. Just bikers using their presence and knowledge to protect people the system couldn't always help in time. Why do you do this? Sarah asked Marcus one evening after her shift. He was quiet for a moment, staring at his coffee. My sister, 20 years ago, she had a stalker. She reported it, did everything right. He killed her anyway. He looked up, eyes hard with old pain. The system failed her. I swore I'd never let that happen to anyone else if I could prevent it. 3 months later, Reeves was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Sarah attended the sentencing, Marcus beside her for support. The judge noted Reeves's lack of remorse, his continued insistence that he'd done nothing wrong. Mr. Reeves, you terrorized this woman, the judge said. You invaded her privacy, violated court orders, and showed escalating dangerous behavior. This sentence reflects the seriousness of your crimes. Outside the courthouse, Sarah felt something lift, not all the fear but enough that she could breathe fully for the first time in months. Marcus walked her to her car. You going to be okay? I think so, eventually. She looked at him. Thank you. For believing me. For helping when no one else did. That's what decent people do, Marcus said. They help. Sarah started her car, then rolled down the window. That favor Detective Chen mentioned. The one she owed you. What was that about? Marcus smiled slightly. That's a different story. Maybe I'll tell you sometime. As Sarah drove away, she glanced in her rearview mirror. Marcus stood in the parking lot, watching until she was safely out of sight. A guardian who'd appeared when she needed one most. The world still had dangers, still had people like Reeves. But it also had people like Marcus, Tommy, Jake, Bear, and Detective Chen. People who stood up, who refused to let fear win. Sarah returned to her life, but she was different now. Stronger, more aware. She joined a support group for stalking victims, sharing her story, helping others find their voices. And she kept in touch with Marcus. Not as a protector anymore, but as a friend. Because some connections, forged in crisis, become permanent. The diner continued its regular rhythm. New waitresses started, regular customers came and went. But Sarah noticed things others missed. The woman glancing nervously at the door, the man sitting alone making someone uncomfortable. And when she noticed, she remembered what Marcus had taught her. You don't face it alone, you ask for help. You stand up, because that's what decent people do. They help. 6 months after Reeves's sentencing, Sarah was closing the diner on a quiet Tuesday evening. The last customer had left 20 minutes ago, and she was counting the register when the door chimed. A young woman walked in, maybe 22, with dark circles under her eyes. She looked around nervously before approaching the counter. I'm sorry, we're closed, Sarah said gently. I know, The woman's voice cracked. Someone told me to come here, said you might understand. Sarah set down the cash she'd been counting. Understand what? There's a man. He's been following me. For weeks now. I went to the police, but they said without proof, without him threatening me directly, there's nothing they can do. Tears started falling. I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. Sarah came around the counter, guided the woman to a booth. What's your name? Jessica. Jessica, I do understand. More than you know. Sarah pulled out her phone, scrolled to a contact. I know someone who can help. Marcus arrived 30 minutes later with Tommy. Sarah had made Jessica coffee, listened to her story. It was painfully familiar. The same pattern, the same escalation, the same helplessness when the system couldn't act fast enough. This is Marcus, Sarah introduced them. He helped me when I was where you are now. Marcus sat across from Jessica, his weathered face kind but serious. Tell me everything. As Jessica talked, Sarah watched Marcus take mental notes the same way he had with her. She saw Tommy already pulling out his phone, beginning the research that would build their case. We'll handle this, Marcus assured Jessica. But you need to understand, we do this right. Legal, by the book. We gather evidence. We work with the police. We make sure he can't hurt you. Jessica nodded, hope flickering in her exhausted eyes. Why? Why do you help people like me? Sarah answered before Marcus could. Because someone helped me, and now I help others. That's how this works. We pass it forward. After Jessica left with Marcus's number and a plan in place, Sarah finished closing. Tommy lingered, helping her stack chairs. You know, he said, when Marcus first brought your case to us, I wasn't sure, thought maybe he was overreacting. But seeing what you've become, how you're helping others now. He smiled. That's what makes this worthwhile. Sarah locked the diner door, looked at the empty parking lot where Reeves used to wait in his sedan. That fear still lived in her sometimes, especially on dark nights, but it didn't control her anymore. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Jessica's stalker has priors in another state. Detective Chen is already on it. We'll get this guy. Sarah typed back. Thank you for everything. Then and now. The response came quickly. That's what family does. Family. That's what they'd become. This unlikely group of bikers, a detective and a waitress, bound together by shared purpose, by the understanding that evil thrives when good people stay silent. Sarah drove home, but instead of going straight inside, she stopped, looked at her apartment building, at the door where Reeves had tried to break in. She'd been a victim then. Tonight, she'd been something else. She'd been the person someone else needed. Inside her apartment, Sarah opened her laptop and continued work she'd started weeks ago, a blog, about stalking, about survival, about asking for help. The stories were anonymous, but the message was clear. You are not alone. You do not deserve this, and there are people who will stand with you. The post she wrote that night was titled, "When a Stranger Becomes Your Shadow, What I Learned About Stalking, Survival, and the Unexpected Heroes Who Saved My Life." It went live at midnight. By morning it had 40 comments from other survivors, each one sharing their story, their fear, their hope. And Sarah read every single one, responding with resources, with Detective Chen's guidance on building legal cases, with Marcus's number for those who needed immediate help. The waitress who'd once whispered her fear to a stranger had found her voice, and she was using it.